The darkness of space stretched endlessly in all directions. Among the cold stars, something huge drifted without purpose. It had been floating there for so long that entire civilizations had risen and fallen while it remained silent. Commander. Jake Morrison pressed his face against the viewing window of his ship. The new horizon was big, but the thing they were looking at made it seem like a toy. The ancient vessel was at least 50 times larger than any ship Jake had ever seen. Its black hull absorbed light like a hungry void, making it hard to see where the ship ended and space began. "How long has it been out here?" Jake asked. Dr. Lisa Carter checked her tablet. She was the team's expert on alien life forms and ancient history. Her brown hair was tied back in a simple ponytail, and her green eyes showed both excitement and worry. "Our best guess is millions of years," she said. "Maybe longer. The metal shows signs of exposure to cosmic radiation that would take forever to accumulate." Jake nodded slowly. 3 months ago, a mining ship had found this thing floating between star systems. The Galactic Federation had immediately sent a team to study it. Representatives from dozens of alien species had come to see what they could learn. The bridge of the New Horizon was crowded with different kinds of beings. Clax 9 was a Zephyrian, looking like a giant insect with 6 arms and compound eyes that reflected rainbow colors. He worked at a computer station, his clawed fingers moving faster than human eyes could follow. Beside him stood Resonance of Crystal, a Valdorian whose body was made of living crystal that chimed softly when she moved. In the corner, a cloud of gas that called itself Whisper in Void floated near the ceiling. This was the Nephilim representative, a being that had no solid form at all. "Any luck with the scans?" Jake asked Clax 9. The insect alien clicked his mandibles together, which meant he was frustrated. "Nothing responds, Commander Morrison. We have tried every frequency, every signal type, every energy pattern known to science. The ship remains completely dead." Jake walked over to the main display screen. It showed a detailed map of the alien vessel. The ship was shaped like a massive arrow, with a sharp front end and wide wings that stretched out on both sides. Strange symbols covered its hull, but no one could read them. The writing didn't match any known language in the Federation database. "What about those weapon systems we detected?" Jake asked. Resonance of Crystal made a sound like wind chimes in a storm. This meant she was worried. "The energy readings suggest weapons that could destroy entire planets, Commander, but they show no signs of power. Nothing on that ship has been active for a very long time." Dr. Carter looked up from her research. "I've been studying the hull composition. The materials are unlike anything we've ever seen. They seem to be designed to last forever. Whatever built this ship wanted it to survive until the end of time." Jake had been leading space missions for 15 years, but this was the strangest thing he had ever encountered. The Federation's best scientists and engineers had been working on the ship for months. They had sent boarding parties inside, examined every room and corridor, and tried to activate hundreds of different control panels. Nothing worked. The ship was like a beautiful corpse, perfectly preserved but completely lifeless. "Maybe we should try a different approach," Jake said. "Instead of trying to turn it on, maybe we should try to understand who built it." Dr. Carter's eyes lit up. "I've been thinking the same thing. Look at this." She brought up a new image on her tablet. It showed one of the ship's corridors. "Notice anything strange about the dimensions?" Jake studied the picture. The hallways were wide and tall, but not unusually so. The doorways were the right size for most humanoid species, but something felt familiar about the proportions. "It's built for beings about our size," he said. "Exactly. And look at this." Dr. Carter showed him another image. This one was of what looked like a control room. There were chairs positioned around various stations. The chairs had the right shape for beings with 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head on top. Clax 9 scuttled over to look at the images. "Many species have similar body types, Dr. Carter. This proves nothing." "Maybe not," she agreed. "But I found something else. Deep in the ship's computer core there are data fragments. Most of them are too damaged to read, but I was able to recover a few pieces." She touched her tablet, and new text appeared on the main screen. The words were in a language that looked almost familiar, but not quite right. "I can't translate most of it," Dr. Carter continued, "but these symbols here, they remind me of something. They look like they might be related to ancient human writing systems." Whisper in Void drifted closer. When the gas being spoke, its voice sounded like an echo from a deep cave. "Impossible. Humans are a young species. Your people have only been traveling in space for a few hundred years." "That's what we've always believed," Dr. Carter said. "But what if we're wrong? What if humans existed long before we thought? What if this ship is from our own past?" The idea seemed crazy, but Jake couldn't shake the feeling that Dr. Carter might be onto something. The ship did feel familiar in ways he couldn't explain. When he had walked through its corridors, he had felt like he was coming home. "There's only one way to find out," Jake said. "We need to try everything we can to activate this ship. If it really is connected to humanity, maybe it will respond to us differently than it responds to our alien friends." Clax 9 clicked his mandibles again. "Commander, we have already tried having humans operate the controls. Nothing happened." "Maybe we haven't tried the right approach," Jake said. He was already making up his mind. Against regulations. Against common sense. Against everything his training had taught him about dealing with unknown alien technology. "I'm going back aboard that ship," he announced, "and I'm going to try something that might be completely stupid." Resonance of crystal chimed nervously. "What do you plan to do, Commander?" Jake looked out at the ancient vessel floating in the darkness. Something about it called to him, like a voice he could almost, but not quite hear. "I'm going to touch it," he said. "With my bare hands, no gloves, no equipment, no safety protocols, just skin contact with whatever built that thing." The bridge fell silent. Every being present knew that direct contact with unknown alien technology was one of the most dangerous things anyone could do. Alien systems might be designed to kill intruders, or they might carry diseases that could wipe out entire species. But Jake had made his decision. Tomorrow, he would board the ancient ship one more time, and this time he would find out once and for all whether the darkness between the stars was hiding secrets that humanity was meant to discover. Jake's boots echoed through the empty corridors of the ancient ship. He had been walking for 20 minutes, making his way to what appeared to be the main control room. The halls were dark except for the light from his helmet, casting long shadows on the walls covered with strange symbols. Dr. Carter walked beside him, her scanner beeping softly as it recorded everything they passed. Behind them, Clax 9 moved on his 6 legs, his compound eyes watching every corner. Resonance of crystal followed, her crystalline body making soft musical sounds with each step. "Commander, I must protest this plan," Clax 9 said for the 10th time. "Direct contact with unknown technology violates every safety protocol in the Federation handbook." Sometimes you have to break the rules to find the truth, Jake replied. He was nervous, but he tried not to show it. Something deep inside him felt like this was the right thing to do, even if it was dangerous. They reached the main control room. It was a huge circular chamber with a raised platform in the center. Dozens of dark screens and control panels surrounded the platform. Everything was covered in a thin layer of space dust, but the equipment looked like it had been built yesterday. "The main console is over there," Dr. Carter said, pointing to a large panel that rose from the floor like a black tree. Strange lights were embedded in its surface, but they had been dark for millions of years. Jake walked slowly toward the console. Each step felt important, like he was walking toward his destiny. The alien members of his team stayed back, watching nervously. "Wait!" Dr. Carter said suddenly. She was looking at her scanner, and her face had gone pale. "Jake, I'm reading something strange. The console is showing faint energy patterns. It's almost like it's alive." "Alive how?" Jake asked. "I don't know. It's not giving off heat or electricity, but there's some kind of activity happening inside it. Like it's waiting for something." Jake stopped in front of the console. It was about chest high, with a smooth black surface that seemed to absorb light. In the center was a palm-shaped depression, as if it had been designed for someone to place their hand there. "This is it," he said quietly. "This is what I came here to do." Clax 9 scuttled forward. "Commander, please reconsider. If this device is designed to harm intruders, you could be killed instantly. Or it could be designed to recognize someone specific," Dr. Carter said. She was studying her scanner readings. "Jake, what if this ship really is connected to humanity somehow? What if it's been waiting for one of us to find it?" Jake took off his gloves and let them float away in the low gravity. His hands looked small and fragile in the dim light. He could feel his heart beating fast as he raised his right hand toward the console. "If I don't come back," he said, "tell my family I tried to do the right thing." Before anyone could stop him, Jake placed his palm firmly on the black surface of the console. For a moment, nothing happened. The control room remained dark and silent. Jake was starting to think that maybe he had been wrong about everything. Then the entire ship exploded with light. The console under Jake's hand began to glow with warm, golden light that spread up his arm and across his body. Every screen in the control room flickered to life, showing streams of data in languages no one had ever seen. The walls themselves began to shine with soft blue light that traveled along hidden pathways like electronic blood vessels. Clax 9 fell, backward in surprise, his legs scrambling for grip on the smooth floor. Resonance of Crystal's body rang like a bell as vibrations from the ship's awakening systems passed through her crystalline form. Dr. Carter grabbed onto a nearby railing as the entire ship began to hum with power. But the most amazing thing was the voice. "Welcome home, inheritor." The words came from everywhere at once, spoken in perfect English by a voice that sounded both ancient and timeless. Jake felt the words not just in his ears, but somehow directly in his mind. "I am Aegis, Automated Emergency Guardian Intelligence System. I have been waiting for you for a very long time." Jake tried to speak, but his mouth wouldn't work. Information was flowing into his mind faster than he could process it. Images of star maps, weapon schematics, and historical records flashed through his consciousness like a movie played at impossible speed. "Do not be afraid," Aegis continued. "I am downloading essential information into your neural pathways. This process will not harm you, but it may be overwhelming at first." Dr. Carter was frantically working her scanner, trying to record what was happening. "Jake, are you all right?" Your vital signs are going crazy. Jake nodded, though he wasn't sure if that was true. The information flow was slowing down, and he was beginning to understand what he was seeing. The ship's history, its purpose, the truth about who had built it. My creators called themselves the Forerunners, Aegis explained. They were human like you, but from a time when your species had evolved much earlier. They built me as their ultimate creation, a guardian to protect what they valued most. That's impossible, Clax9 said, his voice shaking. Humans are a young species. The Federation has records going back millions of years, and there's no mention of ancient humans. Your Federation's records are incomplete, Aegis replied calmly. The Forerunners existed in what you might call an alternate timeline. They seeded technology throughout this galaxy and then transcended to a higher plane of existence. But they left me behind as a test for their genetic descendants. Jake finally found his voice. A test for what? To see if humanity would grow wise enough to use ultimate power responsibly. The Forerunners made many mistakes in their time. They wanted to ensure that their successors would be better than they were. Dr. Carter's scanner was beeping frantically. Jake, the ship is performing detailed scans of everyone on board. It's analyzing our DNA, our brain patterns, everything. Dr. Carter is correct, Aegis confirmed. I am identifying all humans present and marking them as potential operators. However, you, Commander Morrison, have been designated as the primary interface. Your genetic pattern shows the strongest connection to the Forerunner lineage. Jake looked around the control room. Every surface was now alive with light and data. Through the transparent walls, he could see similar light spreading throughout the entire massive ship. After millions of years of silence, the ancient vessel was finally awake. What happens now? He asked. Now you must prepare for what is coming, Aegis replied, and Jake could hear sadness in the artificial voice. The Forerunners did not transcend by choice. They were fleeing from something. An enemy that consumes entire civilizations. An enemy that has found this galaxy. Before Jake could ask what that meant, alarms began sounding on his team's equipment. Dr. Carter looked at her communicator with growing alarm. Jake, we're receiving emergency transmissions from the New Horizon. Ships are approaching our position. Lots of them. Federation ships? Jake asked hopefully. No, Dr. Carter replied, her voice tight with fear. These ships aren't showing up on any of our databases. They're using technology we've never seen before. Aegis spoke again, and this time there was urgency in its voice. The awakening of this vessel has sent a signal across the galaxy. Every major power will want to claim my technology for themselves. But more importantly, it has also alerted the enemy that the Forerunners' heirs have finally arrived. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. What enemy? What are you talking about? The Devourers, Aegis replied simply. And they are already here. The lights in the control room dimmed slightly, as if the ship was conserving power for what was to come. Jake realized that his simple decision to touch an alien console had just changed the fate of the entire galaxy. The question was whether it had changed it for better or worse. The first shot came without warning. A beam of pure energy from the Zephyrian dreadnought struck the ancient ship's shields, sending ripples of light across its hull. Jake felt the impact through his connection to Aegis, like someone had punched him in the stomach. So much for talking, Dr. Carter said grimly. Jake placed both hands on the main console. Information flowed through his mind faster than ever before. He could see every enemy ship, track their weapons, and predict their movements. The ancient ship's systems responded to his thoughts as if they were extensions of his own body. Aegis. Defensive action only. Disable their engines, but don't hurt the crews. Understood. Initiating electromagnetic pulse protocol. The ancient ship's weapons were unlike anything Jake had ever imagined. Instead of firing visible beams or projectiles, they reached out with invisible fingers of energy that could rewrite the basic laws of physics. The Zephyrian dreadnought suddenly went dark as every system on board shut down. Its engines died, leaving it drifting helplessly in space. But Jake felt the cost immediately. Pain shot through his entire body, and he could swear he felt years of his life draining away like water from a broken container. "Jake!" Dr. Carter rushed to his side as he staggered. "What happened?" "The weapon draws life force from the operator," he gasped. "Aegis warned me, but I didn't expect it to hurt so much." More ships opened fire. Valdorian crystal vessels began bombarding the ancient ship with focused light beams. Nephilim gas clouds released swarms of energy parasites that tried to eat through the hull. Jake gritted his teeth and fought back, disabling one ship after another. With each shot, he felt older, weaker, more tired. "This isn't working," Dr. Carter said. "You can't keep this up." "I have to," Jake replied. "Look at the outer system. The real enemy is almost here." On the ship's displays, they could see the Devourer vessels getting closer. There were dozens of them now, their dark hulls bending space around them like black holes. Some were attacking the outer planets, converting rocky surfaces into strange geometric structures that pulsed with alien intelligence. "Aegis, how long before they reach us?" 2 hours, 17 minutes, the AI replied. "However, I am detecting something troubling. The Devourer ships are adapting to my defensive measures. They are learning from each engagement." Jake's heart sank. The enemy was getting stronger while he was getting weaker. At this rate, he would be dead long before the real battle began. That's when Whisper and Void spoke up. The Nephilim representative had been silent since the fighting started, but now its gaseous form swirled with urgent patterns. "Commander Morrison, my people possess ancient artifacts that might help you. We have devices left behind by the Forerunners, tools that can amplify neural patterns across multiple individuals." "What does that mean?" Jake asked. "It means we can share the burden," Dr. Carter said, understanding immediately. "If we link multiple humans to the ship's systems, the life force cost gets distributed among all of them." "But we need more humans," Jake pointed out. "There are only 2 of us here." Clax 9 was monitoring communications from the disabled ships around them. "Commander, many of the Federation vessels carry human crew members. If we could convince them to help instead of fighting..." Jake made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. "Aegis, open communication channels to all ships, not just the commanders, but to every human serving on those vessels. Channel open to all human personnel in the local area." Jake took a deep breath and spoke directly to his own species. "This is Commander Jake Morrison. I know you've been ordered to capture this ship, but I need you to listen to what I'm about to tell you. The real enemy isn't each other. It's something that wants to destroy every living thing in the galaxy." He had Aegis display images of the Devourer ships on every screen in the Federation fleet. The reaction was immediate. Human voices began, responding from dozens of different vessels, asking questions, expressing disbelief, demanding proof. "I can give you proof," Jake said. "But first, I need volunteers. Humans who are willing to link their minds to this ship's systems. It's dangerous, and it might cost you years of your life, but it's the only way to save everyone." The first volunteer surprised him. "This is Captain Amy Foster of the Earth Defense Ship Guardian. I'm willing to help, but my crew is being held." At gunpoint by my own officers. They think you've been brainwashed by alien technology. This is Lieutenant Ben Parker on the Valdorian ship Crystal Harmony, another voice added. Same situation here. The alien crews don't trust humans to make decisions about this. Jake realized the problem. The Federation forces were so afraid of the ancient ship's power that they were treating their own human crew members as potential threats. Fear was tearing apart the very alliances they needed to survive. Aegis, can you transport willing volunteers directly to this ship? Yes, but it will require precise targeting and significant energy expenditure. I can bring approximately 50 humans at once. Do it. Light filled the control room as Aegis activated its transportation system. One by one, humans began materializing throughout the ancient ship. Captain Foster appeared first, a tough-looking woman with short gray hair and determined eyes. Lieutenant Parker followed, along with dozens of other men and women from various Federation vessels. "What do you need us to do?" Captain Foster asked. Dr. Carter was already working at a console, studying the neural interface procedures. "We need to create a network of human minds linked to the ship's systems. It's going to be painful, and we don't know what the long-term effects might be. But it's better than being dead," Lieutenant Parker pointed out. "Show us what to do." The next hour was the strangest of Jake's life. With Aegis guiding them, the humans formed a mental network that connected all their minds to the ancient ship's systems. Jake could suddenly sense the thoughts and emotions of 50 other people. Their fear, their determination, their willingness to sacrifice for something bigger than themselves. The network made the ship incredibly powerful, but it also meant that every death in the upcoming battle would be felt by every member of the group. When the outer planet defenses finally fell to the Devourers, Jake felt the loss of millions of lives as if they were his own family. "They're coming," Dr. Carter said, her voice tight with shared grief. "The Devourer main fleet is moving toward us." Through the ship's sensors, Jake could see them clearly now. The enemy vessels were massive, bigger even than the ancient ship. Worse, they were bringing captured Federation ships with them, vessels that had been converted into hybrid organic machine creatures that twisted and writhed as they moved through space. "They're using our own technology against us," Captain Foster observed grimly. "That's what they do," Aegis explained. "They take the best qualities of each species they encounter and add them to their collective intelligence. Every victory makes them stronger." Jake felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders. Through the neural network, he could sense the fear and hope of every human connected to the ship. They were looking to him for answers, but he wasn't sure he had any. "Aegis, what are our chances?" "If we fight them here, using conventional tactics, we will lose. The Devourers have had millions of years to perfect their methods. However, there is one possibility that the Forerunners built into my systems." "What kind of possibility?" "A final weapon. Something so powerful that it could destroy the entire Devourer fleet in one shot, but the cost would be enormous." Jake felt cold dread creeping up his spine. "What kind of cost?" "The complete sacrifice of this ship and everyone on board. The weapon would consume our entire life force to power a reality-altering explosion." The human network fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. They had come together to save the galaxy, but it might cost them everything to do it. "Is there any other way?" Dr. Carter asked quietly. "Unknown," Aegis replied. "But I should mention one more thing. The approaching Devourer fleet is not random. They are following a specific pattern, converging on something hidden in this system." "Hidden what?" Jake asked. "The source of all Forerunner?" "Technology. The place where my creators first learned to transcend physical reality." If the Devourers reach it, they will gain the power to remake the entire universe according to their design. Jake closed his eyes and tried to think. 50 lives connected to his through the neural network. Millions more depending on his decision. The fate of every living thing in the galaxy hanging in the balance. When he opened his eyes again, he knew what he had to do. 1 year after Earth's destruction, Commander Tony Clark stood in the command center of the space station, orbiting where Earth used to be. The planet was gone, replaced by a field of glowing asteroids that had once been humanity's home. But something new had been built here. The memorial station was massive, larger than any structure humans had ever created. Ships came from across the galaxy to see it. Not human ships, but alien vessels carrying diplomats and leaders who needed to understand what they were dealing with. "Another delegation arriving, sir," reported his communications officer. "The Andromedan Collective wants to present a peace offering." Tony nodded. It was the 15th delegation this month. Every alien species in the galaxy was desperate to make peace with humanity now. They brought gifts and promises and treaties written in gold. "Put them in the waiting queue," he said, "behind the others." The waiting queue was very long these days. President Lisa Adams walked through the corridors of the human command ship Vengeance. She had been Earth's ambassador to the galaxy before the war. Now she was something much more powerful. She was the voice that spoke for all of humanity. "Madam." "President," her aide approached nervously, "the Zephyrian representatives are here for the surrender ceremony." Lisa paused. The Zephyrians. The species that had started this war by destroying Earth. They had been allowed to survive, but only barely. Their empire was gone. Their fleet was destroyed. Their colonies had been given to other species as payment for supporting human authority. "Are they ready to sign the final documents?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am. Emperor Zektul himself is here to surrender his species formally." Lisa entered the meeting room where a small group of Zephyrians waited. They looked broken, defeated. The proud warrior race that had once ruled 1,000 worlds was now reduced to begging for the right to exist. Emperor Zektul stood when she entered. He was old and tired, and his hands shook as he held the surrender documents. "President Adams," he said quietly, "on behalf of my species, I formally surrender all claims to territory, all military assets, and all political authority to the Human Alliance." Lisa took the documents and read them carefully. The terms were simple. The Zephyrians would be allowed to live, but only under human supervision. They would never again be permitted to have weapons or warships. They would work as laborers and servants for the species they had once conquered. "Your surrender is accepted," she said formally. "But understand this. You exist now only because we choose to let you exist. That choice can be changed at any time." Zektul nodded. He understood perfectly. His species had learned to live with the knowledge that humans could end them all with a single command. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. The Altarian Federation had given humans 3 star systems as tribute. The Vegan Alliance had handed over their most advanced technology. The Centauri Republic had agreed to become a human protectorate. Every species that had watched Earth burn was now paying the price for their inaction. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, watching a convoy of alien ships pass by. They were carrying supplies to human colonies, tribute payments that arrived every month. The aliens had learned that keeping humans happy was the most important thing in the galaxy. "Captain?" his first officer reported. "We're receiving a transmission from the new colony at Alpha Centauri. They're requesting permission to expand their industrial facilities." Jake considered this. Alpha Centauri had been a Zephyrian world before the war. Now it was home to 50,000 human colonists who were building something new there. "Granted," he said. "Tell them they can have whatever resources they need." This was the new reality. Humans took what they wanted, and the aliens provided it willingly. Not because they were generous, but because they were terrified of what would happen if they refused. Dr. Bill Shaw, now an old man, walked through the memorial garden that had been built in Earth's asteroid field. The garden was beautiful, filled with plants and trees from every world that humans had ever called home. But at its center was something else. A simple stone monument with names carved into it. All 6 billion humans who had died when Earth burned. Every name was there, from world leaders to newborn babies. The monument was a reminder of what the galaxy had cost humanity. "Mr. Shaw?" A young voice interrupted his thoughts. He turned to see a small alien child, one of the species that had allied with humans after the war. The child was part of a school group visiting the memorial. "Yes?" Bill replied gently. "My teacher says. You were there when Earth died. Is that true?" Bill knelt down to the child's level. "Yes, I was there. I helped build the ships that came after." "Were you angry?" the child asked innocently. Bill thought about this carefully. How could he explain to this young mind what humans had become? How could he describe the cold fury that had driven them to remake the galaxy? "We were sad," he said finally. "And when someone hurts you badly enough, sometimes being sad turns into something else." "What kind of something else?" "The kind that makes sure it never happens again." The child nodded as if this made perfect sense. In the new galaxy, it did. Back on the Vengeance, Lisa Adams was reviewing reports from across human space. The numbers were impressive. Human population was growing rapidly, with new colonies being established every month. Human technology was advancing at an incredible rate, with alien knowledge being absorbed and improved upon, but most importantly, human authority was absolute. No species in the galaxy would dare to challenge them. Not after what had happened to the Zephyrians. "Ma'am," her aide approached with a new report. "The Rigelian Consortium is requesting permission to establish a trade route through human space." "What are they offering in exchange?" Lisa asked. 15% of their total economic output, plus exclusive access to their research facilities." Lisa nodded approvingly. Before the war, the Rigelians had been among the most arrogant species in the galaxy. They had refused to even acknowledge human existence. Now, they were begging for the privilege of paying tribute. "Approved," she said. "But remind them that the permission can be revoked at any time." This was how the new galaxy worked. Aliens provided what humans wanted, and in return, they were allowed to continue existing. It was a simple system, and it worked perfectly. In the memorial garden, Bill Shaw finished his daily walk and sat down on a bench facing Earth's grave. Every day he came here to remember, not just the people who had died, but who humans had been before the war. They had been explorers and dreamers, scientists and artists, people who believed that the universe was full of friends they hadn't met yet. Now they were something else entirely. A group of alien diplomats passed by, heading to another meeting with human officials. They walked quietly, respectfully, in the way people walked in the presence of something much more powerful than themselves. One of them, a young Altarian, noticed Bill sitting alone and approached carefully. "Excuse me, sir," the alien said politely. "I wanted to thank you." Bill looked up, surprised. "Thank me for what?" "For letting us live," the alien said simply. "My species made the wrong choice during the war. We should have helped Earth when it was attacked. We know that humans could have destroyed us all for that mistake. Thank you for showing mercy." Bill studied the young alien for a long moment. Mercy. Was that what this was? "We didn't show mercy," he said quietly. "We showed restraint. There's a difference." "What's the difference?" the alien asked. Bill looked out at the glowing remnants of Earth, where 6 billion humans had died because the galaxy had chosen to watch instead of help. "Mercy is when you forgive someone because you're kind," he said. "Restraint is when you don't destroy someone because you don't need to prove your point anymore." The alien considered this carefully, then bowed and walked away. Bill sat alone in the garden, watching ships from across the galaxy come to pay their respects to the world that had died so that the rest of the galaxy could learn an important lesson. They had learned that there was a difference between being unable to fight and choosing not to fight. They had learned that peaceful species could become something much more dangerous when their peace was taken away. Most importantly, they had learned that humans were now the ultimate authority in the galaxy. Not because they had conquered it, but because they had proven they could destroy it and chosen not to. The new order was built on a simple understanding. Humans would protect those who deserved protection and eliminate those who threatened peace. The galaxy would provide what humans needed to maintain this order, and everyone would remember what happened to the species that had thought humans were weak. In the silence between stars, the ghost fleet still patrolled, invisible guardians watching, over a galaxy that had learned to behave itself. Earth was gone, but humanity had become something greater. They had become the galaxy's conscience, its judge, and its final authority, and they would never let anyone forget the price of making them choose war over peace. Jake stood at the main console of the ancient ship, his hand still glowing where it touched the control surface. The information flowing into his mind was overwhelming. He could see star maps that showed the location of every planet in the galaxy. He could understand weapon systems that could turn entire moons into dust. Most frightening of all, he could sense something wrong spreading through space like a disease. "Aegis, show me what's happening out there," Jake said. The walls of the control room became transparent, giving them a perfect view of space around the ship. Jake's heart sank when he saw what was approaching. Dozens of ships from different alien races were converging on their position. He recognized the sleek vessels of the Zephyrian Navy, the crystal formations that served as Valdorian warships, and the gas clouds that carried Nephilim forces. "They're not here to help, are they?" Dr. Carter asked quietly. "No," Aegis replied. "My awakening has sent energy signals across the galaxy. Every major power wants to control my technology. They see me as the ultimate weapon." Clax 9 was frantically working at a portable communication device. "I'm receiving messages from the approaching fleets. They're demanding that we surrender the ancient ship immediately." "What gives them the right?" Jake asked angrily. "Power," Aegis said simply. "The same force that has driven conflict throughout galactic history. But their squabbling over my systems is not the real danger." The ship's sensors began displaying new information on the screens around them. Jake saw images that made his blood run cold. Far out at the edge of the solar system, space itself seemed to be bending and twisting. Dark shapes were emerging from holes in reality. "What am I looking at?" Jake asked. The Devourers, Aegis replied. They detected my activation signal and are beginning their assault. These beings are not from your galaxy. They come from the spaces between realities, and they have one goal: to convert all organic life into processing power for their collective intelligence. Dr. Carter was studying her scanner readings. Jake, the energy signatures from those ships don't match anything in our databases. It's like they're made of something that shouldn't exist. Aegis began showing them more detailed images of the approaching enemy vessels. They looked like they were constructed from crystallized darkness, their hulls absorbing all light that touched them. Strange geometric patterns covered their surfaces, and Jake got the feeling that looking at them too long might drive him insane. How do we fight something like that? He asked. With weapons designed specifically for that purpose, Aegis replied. The Forerunners spent thousands of years preparing for this enemy. They built me to be the ultimate defense against beings that exist partially outside normal space and time. Jake felt new information flowing into his mind. He could suddenly understand how the ship's weapons worked. They didn't just destroy matter, they could reorganize it at the quantum level. They could reach across dimensions to strike enemies that existed in multiple realities at once. But there was a terrible price. Using these weapons will kill me, won't it? Jake asked. Not kill, Aegis corrected. But each time you fire the main weapons, years of your life force are consumed to power the quantum disruptors. The Forerunners designed this limitation to prevent the casual use of such devastating technology. Dr. Carter grabbed Jake's arm. There has to be another way. We can't ask you to sacrifice your life to operate this thing. I can share the burden, Aegis said. Any human with the proper genetic markers can link their neural patterns to mine. The life force cost can be distributed among multiple operators. Jake looked at his team. Dr. Carter was the only other human present, and he couldn't ask her to risk her life. But as he watched the enemy ships getting closer, he realized they might not have a choice. How long before they reach us? He asked. The alien fleets will arrive in approximately 4 hours, Aegis replied. The Devourer ships will reach the outer planets in 6 hours. Once they establish a foothold in this system, they will begin converting all matter into computational substrate. Jake made a decision that terrified him. Show me how to use the weapons. More information flowed into his mind. He could see targeting systems that could track enemies across multiple dimensions. He could understand defense shields that existed partially outside normal space-time. Most importantly, he could sense the ship's true power, the ability to reshape reality itself. Commander Morrison, Clax 9 said urgently. We're receiving a transmission from the approaching Federation fleet. Admiral Carson of the Earth Defense. Force is demanding that you surrender the alien vessel immediately. Jake laughed bitterly. Earth wants to take control of the ship too? It appears that your own species sees me as too dangerous to remain under individual control, Aegis observed. This is not unexpected. Fear often drives beings to make poor decisions. Dr. Carter was working at another console, her face pale. Jake, I'm detecting something else. The ship's medical bay has been analyzing our DNA patterns. According to this, you're not the only human who can interface with Forerunner technology. What do you mean? The genetic markers aren't rare. About 1 in every 100 humans carries them. If we could get more people here, we could operate this ship without killing anyone. Jake felt a spark of hope, but it was quickly crushed when Aegis spoke again. Dr. Carter is correct about the genetic compatibility. However, the neural interface process requires training that takes years to complete safely. We do not have years. We have hours. The first of the alien ships was now close enough to see clearly. It was a massive Zephyrian dreadnought, bristling with weapons. Jake could see smaller ships launching from its bays, heading directly for the ancient vessel. "They're sending boarding parties," Dr. Carter said. "Let them come," Jake replied. He was surprised by the coldness in his own voice. The connection to Aegis was changing him, making him think in ways that felt both familiar and strange. "This ship has defensive systems they can't imagine. Commander, I must advise against hostile action," Clax 9 said nervously. "These are Federation forces. They are supposed to be our allies." "Allies don't try to steal ancient weapons," Jake said. "Aegis, can you disable their ships without killing the crews?" "Yes. I can use targeted electromagnetic pulses to shut down their power systems. However, this will reveal our capabilities to the Devourers. They will adapt their own systems accordingly." Jake weighed his options. He could surrender the ship to the Federation forces, but that would leave the galaxy defenseless against the Devourers. He could fight off the alien fleets, but that would make humanity enemies of every major power in the galaxy. Or he could try to convince them to work together against the real threat. "Open a communication channel to all the approaching ships," Jake ordered. "Channel open," Aegis replied. Jake took a deep breath. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel New Horizon. I'm speaking to all Federation forces in this system. You're making a terrible mistake. While you're fighting each other for control of this ship, an enemy that wants to destroy all organic life is approaching from the outer system. We need to work together, or we're all going to die." The response was immediate and not encouraging. Multiple voices began shouting at once, demanding surrender, threatening attack, and accusing each other of trying to steal the ancient technology. "It seems that fear has made them deaf to reason," Aegis observed. Jake felt the weight of responsibility, settling on his shoulders like a heavy cloak. The fate of the entire galaxy might depend on the decisions he made in the next few hours. He looked at Dr. Carter, who nodded at him with trust and determination in her eyes. "Then we'll have to show them the truth," Jake said grimly. "Aegis, prepare the defensive systems. It's time to wake up the galaxy."